Welcome to the inaugural episode of Time Well Spent. I'm so pleased to welcome Nouman Ashraf back to the Simcoe County District School Board. At the Rotman School of Management, Nouman serves as an assistant professor teaching stream in the field of organizational behavior and human resources management, a teaching fellow in the realm of gender and the economy, while also serving as director of equity, diversity, and inclusion. Thank you so much for your time today, Nouman, as we explore the concept of racism and the steps that we can all take to move forward in standing up against it and the harm it causes.
It's my pleasure, Daryl. I'm privileged to be here, and I feel duty-bound to be here. You and your board are doing the right thing, which is exploring options and actions, which is what we need to do when we're in a global pandemic, when we're faced and confronted, and rightfully so, with global situations and in our own communities where the quest for justice requires for all of us as educators to do our part. I think that we need to go beyond, number one, we need to go beyond just the individual behaviors, and we have to ask the question, what are the systemic pieces to this puzzle? What are ways in which our definition of who belongs in the classroom, our sense of what happens when we are challenged as teachers, I speak very personally now, as myself, when we haven't had students from certain communities, when we haven't had students from certain lived experiences, when we haven't had students that look and feel different than ourselves in our classroom. What does that mean? Do we try to force them into our notion of what we're familiar with? Or do we embrace that curiosity mindset and say, how can I go in with an empty head and open heart to learn more? So that's the first thing, which is to say, what are the systemic pieces in addition to just interpersonal? Secondly, I'd urge all educators to approach this work not from a place of guilt or shame or defensiveness, but rather from a place of love. All of us need to just remember why we got into this work. Certainly not for our money or fame, let me tell you. We got into this work because we ourselves had teachers who inspired within us this spark of learning, this joy of understanding. And let's face it, we get a little bit of time off in the summer. Let's be honest about that too. But really, we wanted to make a net positive contribution. I think that our aspiration for net positive contribution is incomplete if it doesn't include everyone. I'm going to say something difficult next, and that's this. As educators, we don't have the choice of saying, who do we see as being worthy of educating? Going into a classroom is like going into an election. You go in with the kids you have, not the ones you wish you had. And I think that's probably the best part of education. When you can take a skeptic and turn them into an advocate, boy, is that ever powerful. The third piece is mindfulness. And I'm going to do a little exercise right now with you and I, Daryl. I want you to think about, in your board, those that come from communities that are farthest from the center of the community. Imagine a family. Imagine a student who relies on your board to be a source of knowledge, of tools, of information and inspiration out of their present circumstance. Think about how valuable this exercise is to them. And we should all hold that person in our minds and hearts as we start a day, every single day. And to carry that person's vision with us through the day. Why? Because that's the standard to which we need to hold ourselves. We need to hold ourselves to the standard of saying, how do I not fail them? And how do I not forget about them? Because oftentimes we can get busy with lesson plans and report cards and online and all that sort of stuff, which I think is important. When we keep that mindfulness piece with us throughout the day, it creates a capacity for us to say that we are truly being inclusive. And I think that's how we challenge racism. We challenge racism not by saying, oh, I don't have a racist bone in my body. We need to understand that the opposite of racism is not non-racist. It's anti-racist. And I really mean this now. I think all of our school boards have to create anti-racism strategies, but also anti-racism resources at the level of lesson plans, at the level of community outreach, at the level of programs for professional development, for teachers, for parents, for community members. Because we have to understand that irrespective of intent, the impact of a colonial past affects different communities differently. And again, I don't want people to say, oh my gosh, I had nothing to do with it. I actually don't care. I don't think communities care. What communities care for is, what is the status of their children in our classrooms? And I think that if we embrace that, and we do that collectively, right, we have a path forward against racism. But if instead we get defensive and say, we didn't contribute, we didn't create this, and those people, whoever those they may be, if it's not us or them, it's one. We're one people. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is, we are a community of educators. We are a community of learners. And we need to beat this thing. A book that I really like for all teachers, and many might know it, it's called The Courage to Teach by Parker Palmer, Palmer. And the reason I like it, it's not about racism, it's actually about the fact that you have to have courage to teach. But I also think that you have to have the same courage to confront racism and to confront other forms of othering. He had a line in there that I think is beautiful. It's funny, it's thoughtful, and it's a little scary too. He says, techniques are what we use until the real teacher shows up. So think about that for a second. We've all had students who've called us out on just us trying to do things mechanically. And boy, are we ever grateful to them for that. Because then we give ourselves permission to really connect and to really learn in the process. And then to really foster the sense of love and respect. Mm-hmm. The other book that I highly recommend is a book called How to Be an Anti-Racist. And it's by a scholar, professor in the US, Ibram Kendi, Kendi. Okay. And, the thing that I love about this book is that it gives you in some way the step-by-step process, but he also speaks very openly about what writing the book has done for him as a process of transformation. So that's my other point. I want to say that, if leadership is not if education is not transformative for us, both at the level of how we're transforming the ones who we are teaching and the ones who are teaching themselves, then we're missing out on the promise of education. And this is really fresh in my mind and something that that hit me hard. So I was invited to host a gathering of alumni online for a very prestigious independent school in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area. I'm not a graduate of that school. My kids haven't gone there, but I knew someone on the board and they said, you do educational leadership, or you're director of equity, diversity, and inclusion. So the head of school invited me, and there were 73 alumni on the Zoom call. And I recognized one of the students because he had been a student of mine at the Rotman School of Management. Mm-hmm. He turned his camera on, he turned the mic up. He said something that hit me super hard. He said, I have come here with many grievances against my alma mater, against my school. And I wasn't going to say a thing, because I don't believe that they actually care. But when I saw Professor Nouman there, I know he's somebody who stands for justice. So today I'm going to speak. And that really hit me hard. Mm-hmm. It hit me hard because it's not about me. It's about our commitment to justice. And I think that all of us need to make that connection every single day. Because you never know how those values are going to impact people. Like, I had no idea he was going to be there. I hadn't taught him for 2 years, and I had no idea that he was an alum of this really impressive independent school. But there you go. So I think when we do this right, it has real benefits and returns. So sometimes the value comes later.
And it's something that you often speak about with us in our learning in terms of the impact. And that's what we need to focus on, that there is real impact in this work. Nouman, I'm always thankful for the opportunity to reconnect with you, and I appreciate your ongoing support, your passion for the work, and your words of encouragement and guidance. This was indeed time well spent.
Likewise for me, Daryl. Thank you, and I wish you not just success, but impact in your continued leadership journey. Take good care.